I have recently come back from, you guessed it, Jamaica, and in this video I want to share my experiences of what it was like to visit Jamaica at the moment in the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa. But let's start at the very beginning. Just a few months ago, Hurricane Melissa hit the island of Jamaica. It was a Category 5 hurricane and sadly brought a lot of destruction to the island. Now, as a consequence of this hurricane, a lot of people have been hesitant to visit Jamaica, whether they are afraid of hurricanes themselves or just afraid to visit a place that has recently experienced a lot of destruction. The point is, people are not coming to Jamaica, and that, for a country that's so heavily dependent on tourism, is a big problem. So, Visit Jamaica reached out to me and asked me, hey, are you interested in visiting Jamaica? We are struggling to get visitors at the moment, and we want to show that Jamaica is not only open for tourism again, but actually an amazing place to visit at the moment. And of course, I couldn't say no to this opportunity. Me being the German travel guy and having visited every single country on the planet, I had been to Jamaica before. But on my first visit to the island, I mainly stayed in Kingston. I had one night in Montego Bay, but so I said for this journey I want to explore a little bit more of the island. I want to see some more spots, so I went on an 8-day trip with Visit Jamaica, exploring the north of the island. And the most fun part was that I was not traveling alone. I was traveling with 5 other influencers, which you can see here. Most of us were German, and it was a super fun itinerary. But let's start from the very beginning. Day 1, we landed at Montego Bay International Airport at some point in the afternoon after a direct flight with Condor from Frankfurt. The first thing that we noticed was, yes, it was a lot warmer than the cold weather that we were coming from in Germany, but also that up on the hills, a lot of the trees had been cut by the hurricane, and it gave us a reality check. It was like, whoa, yeah, we're actually here just a few months after the hurricane hit the island. And the second thing that we noticed was we had a fabulous welcome by the Jamaicans on the ground. We met our tour guides, we met everyone on the ground. In the evening, we just headed to our first hotel, the Grand Palladium Resort near Lucy, and we just had a really good night's sleep. Day 2, our first real day in Jamaica. We visited Negril, one of the most famous destinations on Jamaica and arguably some of the most beautiful beaches. First of all, we spent the morning exploring the 7-mile beach, this stretch of beach that is insanely beautiful, swimming in the water, chilling underneath the palm trees. I mean, honestly, what more do you want? Well, then they surprised us because they had organized a surprise catamaran trip for us. So we took this massive catamaran out with our group and we went snorkeling in the crystal clear waters. It was honestly beautiful. I did not expect it. It was so nice. We had a lot of rum punch as well. It was such a fun day. And then on the way back in the afternoon, we even got to see the sunset. Now, our third day in Jamaica really taught me how intertwined the tourism industry of the island is with the local population, because there are a lot of people that would say, well, if I visit one of those big resorts, I don't really contribute to the local people. Quite the opposite. Some people would argue that it feels weird to spend your vacation in a place that recently saw such a destruction, such a hurricane, especially if things aren't fully rebuilt yet. But the third day taught me how connected those two things are. Now, we visited a local school in Lucy, which is actually directly funded by the Grand Palladium Resort. And who are the children in the school? Well, a huge number of those children learning in that school are actually the sons and daughters of the staff, the hotel staff. And I found that very interesting because it shows that by visiting the island, you're actually directly contributing not just to the education system, but also to funding the rebuilding, which, yes, in a lot of communities still needs to take place. Let me tell you, Jamaica is such a beautiful destination and they are desperate for tourists. They really want tourists to come in order also to fund the rebuilding and to fund all those projects that they are having and to fund the communities that depend on tourism. Going back a little bit to when the hurricane happened, in the immediate aftermath of it, a lot of hotels had to close and some even had to close permanently, and that meant that a lot of people sadly lost their jobs. And in order to combat that, Jamaica is desperate for tourists. They really want visitors to come, not just to see the beautiful island, but also to fund their ongoing projects, to fund the rebuilding, and to open up the hotels and all the jobs connected to it again. Now, leaving all the economic stuff aside, I really enjoyed spending a few hours with the children. Me being a juggler, I obviously juggled with them. I had a little show. They gave us a little show as well where they sang for us. It was quite a touching third day. On day 4, we had one of the most fun experiences in Jamaica. Now, being in the Caribbean, of course, Jamaica is big on rum. And where better to try it than at the source? We visited the Hampton Estate Rum Distillery, which has been in operation for hundreds of years, and they still craft their rum the same way like they did in the very beginning. So we did the rum distillery tour, which was super fascinating, a very intense tour, like every 5 meters you have a different smell. It was super interesting. The whole estate is interesting. It's in the midst of the bush somewhere. Guys, we're currently at the Hampton Estate doing a rum distillery tour. It's so crazy flavor intensive, like there's so many flavors everywhere. Wow, you smell it like super fermented at the moment here. It's crazy. So we did the tour, and then afterwards, of course, we did the rum tasting ourselves. I actually tried a rum which cost like $120 a bottle, and it just felt like a flavor explosion on your tongue. It was super interesting. It reminded me of when I was in the Falkland Islands just 1.5 years ago, and I visited the small gin distillery. It was kind of similar, and I really enjoyed the rum tasting, and I left a little bit tipsy. I was like, yeah man. By the way, yeah man is like the most important word that you need to know in Jamaican. What do they speak in Jamaica? They speak English, but they do have their own English-based pidgin called patois, which is pretty much unintelligible if you don't speak it. So wagwan is probably the most important word when you meet someone on the street and you just want to say what's up, you say wagwan, and then what you'll hear all the time is Yamon, and they actually write it with an O, so M-O-N, like Yamon, Yaman, everything is fine, alright. Anyway, on day 4 we also briefly explored the town of Falmouth, and then we went to Ocho Rios to have food in a vegan restaurant. Now, I turned vegan a few years ago, and Jamaica is, I would argue, one of the most vegan-friendly countries in the world because you have Rastafarianism, and in some sects of Rastafarianism, veganism is a big thing. The whole thing has to do with the idea of liberty, and some Rastafaris believe that you should not eat dead animals. Why? Because dead things would lower your liberty, and thus you should follow a plant-based diet. And to many Rastafarians, that means following a vegan diet. You can find vegan restaurants on Happy Cow, an app that I frequently use, or if you're in Jamaica, just go to Google Maps and type in Ital cuisine, like vital but drop the V, and then you have Ital cuisine, and that is most likely fully plant-based. So you can find those traditional Rastafari restaurants in pretty much every town on the island. I had some delicious jackfruit ice cream as well, and then this whole meal with like a vegan steak thing and rice, lots of veggies. Great food. I love Jamaica for the food. On day 5, we went up Mystic Mountain, and we actually went bobsledding in Jamaica in the middle of the forest. Pretty much it's like a roller coaster in the middle of the forest where you go on your bobsled and then you race down the mountain. It went a lot faster than I would have expected. It was super fun, and you can also zip line there. So after the whole activity, we zip lined all the way down. And then for lunch, we went to a restaurant called Miss T's, which was really great. It's not fully vegan, but they did make a lot of vegan options for us. My favorite thing was the entree, which was basically a cassava patty with onion chutney on top. And then on top of that, they put ackee, which is the national fruit of Jamaica. You will definitely come across ackee when you visit Jamaica. It's typically eaten with saltfish in their national dish, ackee and saltfish, but there's great vegan options as well. You can also just eat the ackee on itself. For example, with the cassava patties and the onion chutney, it was absolutely delicious. Day 6 might have been my favorite day on Jamaica. We went rafting on the Rio Grande. Now, when I thought of rafting, I thought, okay, we're gonna do some crazy wild water rafting in Jamaica. But Jamaica, being Jamaica, it's all very laid back, very relaxed, no worries, no stress. So when we actually got to the starting point, I got a bit of a shock because there were those massive bamboo rafts that had nothing to do with those traditional rafts that you race down heavy water streams with. No, they were just massively long rafts built with bamboo. It was basically like a gondola in Venice where you have your conductor and then 2 people sit at the back and just enjoy the ride. You just sit there for 2.5 hours, enjoy the beautiful scenery. You can swim in the river if you want. You can see all the birds flying past. It's absolutely beautiful. And then for your lunch break, you can stop at Belinda's Riverside restaurant, which might have been my favorite food that I've eaten in Jamaica. Again, she's great with making vegan food as well. I had ackee, I had plantain, I had rice, I had vegetables, so many different things. It was absolutely delicious. And then after that lunch, you head off for another 1.5 hours, and then you finish the raft. It was so fun. If there's one activity that I would recommend if you visit Jamaica, do this. After the rafting, we went to a beach called Frenchman's Cove, and that was absolutely beautiful, but I got bitten by a crab in the water. I was just there chilling, minding my own business, and then a crab came up to me and just snatched me into my toe. Yeah, it's the first time I ever got bitten by a crab in my life. Probably one of the most beautiful beaches that I've been to, because honestly, what more could you ask for? Even the palm trees are picture perfect, and it's this cove, like a little bay. And the last thing for the day, we went to Reach Falls, and I did the most scary jump that I've ever done. You have to jump like 1 meter in width, because otherwise you actually face the risk of hitting the rock in the water. And then there's also this little cave where you can climb into in the waterfall, and then you come out of it in the front again. But I would recommend visiting Reach Falls to anyone, even if you just want to come and look at it. It is very beautiful. Day 7 was already our last full day on Jamaica. The time went so fast. We had lots of rum, lots of parties. But first of all, we did the Blue Hole experience, which really reminded me of a cenote in Mexico. It's those beautiful waters tucked away somewhere in the forest, and you have a bunch of waterfalls and a bunch of activities. You can jump into the water. You have those little ropes with which you can swing into the water. I am gonna say, if you're a bit afraid of heights or of jumping into water, maybe the Blue Hole experience is not for you, because that's the main thing. You jump into water, you use the ropes, and then you climb up the waterfall, and then you jump again into the water. That's like the main thing. If you like those type of things, you should not miss the Blue Hole experience. We also explored the town of Port Antonio, and I got to try traditional Jamaican patties. Now, a patty is pretty much like an empanada, like a filled puff pastry. They mostly put chicken or meat inside, but obviously I got a vegan version. And a lot of the times the traditional patty stores nowadays also do vegan versions, even vegan meats, but they were out of them when I visited, so I went to a vegan restaurant and I tried them there. I can put the name of the vegan restaurant right here. I tried their pumpkin patty and their lentil patty. I did prefer the pumpkin patty, although it was quite spicy. But I was quite happy to explore Port Antonio a little bit, having some patties and also getting a fresh coconut. Now, there's actually a little bit of a shortage of coconuts on the island after Hurricane Melissa, because, well, Melissa destroyed a lot of the palm trees. So one coconut cost me €1.80, which I would say for such a tropical country is quite expensive, but apparently that is the normal street price in Jamaica nowadays. So hopefully the price of coconuts will go down over the next years again. In the evening, we went to a rooftop bar, probably the most prestigious location in the city, and we actually got to chat a little bit to the manager of the place. There were a bunch of international visitors, but also a lot of Jamaicans partying. But I have to say, for 14 euros a cocktail, it was quite on the upper end, to be fair. So anyway, I left the rooftop party completely drunk, and then I was ready for day 8, which was sadly our final day in Jamaica. For the final day, we chose another nature activity, which was to climb up the Dunn's River Falls. Now, that was not like the Blue Hole experience, for example, but you actually take a guide and you climb up all the way up the waterfall. And to me, honestly, that was a little bit scary. I don't think I would have done it without the guide, but the guide helps you. They help you like pull you up when you need to, and they help you like move ahead and to see where you can step and where you cannot. If you want to do it, you should definitely do it, because there are a lot of entry and exit points. So if you ever feel a bit scared of going up a section, you can also just leave and walk up the stairs and then join in again, or just enjoy the view. So don't feel pressured to do the whole hike. I really enjoyed it, because you first walk down the stairs to the beach and then you climb up all the way to the waterfall. And then it was already time to head back to the airport, to Montego Bay, to leave Jamaica. I was honestly very sad because that week went by so fast. And with my stories, with the videos that I posted on Instagram and TikTok, and hopefully this YouTube video, hopefully we can motivate more people to visit this beautiful island, the country of Jamaica, that yes, has sadly been hit by Hurricane Melissa recently, but they are building up things very, very fast, and most importantly, the whole country depends on tourism. So don't feel like you shouldn't go to Jamaica, quite the opposite. They really want foreign visitors to come and experience the nature, the beautiful things that this island has to offer, and your tourist dollars will actually help the rebuilding process. And honestly, it's an amazing country with amazing people. The number one question that I got asked on my socials is it safe to visit? And I have to say, yes, it is safe. Of course, you have to be a bit careful here and there, but you have to be careful whenever you visit a new place. Jamaicans are very, very friendly people, very laid back people. You will often find Jamaicans just chilling on the street, listening to loud music, smoking and enjoying the day. Jamaican people are very, very welcoming, very friendly, but yes, also very direct. You will often get approached when you just walk down the road. They will ask for your name, where you're from, what your interests are, and if you're a girl, yes, they might ask for your number. The girls on our trip, they told us that yes, they get approached quite a lot, especially if they go to the city alone, but they never really felt uncomfortable because they mainly do it in a very respectful way. It's just something to be aware of, but honestly, you should be aware of that wherever you go. So yes, Jamaica is a safe place to visit, and it's an amazing place to visit. Feel free to check out my Instagram bio highlights from Jamaica to see all the things that we did in the country in depth, and to find all the links and places that we visited if you want to learn more. Also, feel free to check out the website visitjamaica.com, which I will put into the description, so you can learn more about Jamaica and all the amazing things that it has to offer. I sincerely hope that you will consider Jamaica for your next vacation, because I had a fabulous time there and the country will welcome you with open arms. Thank you so much for sticking around until the end. See you in the next video and peace out. Yeah, man.